NFL free agency provides teams with the platform to take care of their most pressing needs. But it can also create or exacerbate roster problems, with several franchises learning that harsh lesson this week. While many organizations clung to dreams of leveraging massive cap space to bring aboard proven playmakers, this year's market thinned out considerably before the bidding ever officially opened, as several of the top players opted to re-sign with their current teams. Between that shortage of high-end talent and a handful of teams facing key defections, several franchises are facing uneasy questions at certain spots. Here are 5 teams that have big holes to address after the initial run of free agency. Armed with more than $125 million in cap space, more than any other team, the Patriots were certainly active in the early run of free agency. Defensive tackle Milton Williams was the splashiest signing with a 4-year, $104 million deal that goes down as the richest in franchise history. Yet despite New England totaling more than $141.4 million in total guaranteed money doled out in the organization's early spending spree, 2 glaring areas of need, wide receiver and left tackle, look less settled than ever. On both fronts, the Patriots were frozen out of the top potential options before free agency began, as T. Higgins was franchise tagged by the Cincinnati Bengals and Ronnie Stanley re-upped with the Baltimore Ravens. From there, the choices narrowed considerably, as Chris Godwin took less money to remain with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. According to multiple fronts, New England should be able to look to the draft to fill the void at blindside protector, with LeSue's Will Campbell potentially being a consideration with the number 4 pick. But a wide receiver class that lacks last year's high-end options of Malik Nabers, Marvin Harrison Jr. and Rome Odunze could leave the Patriots without a natural answer for a number 1 target. That could be a significant impediment to Drake May's development after the number 3 overall pick showed immense promise as a rookie but too often was left to overcompensate for subpar protection from his front and a lack of separation from his receiving core. And while a second-tier veteran pass catcher or another rookie could aid May in some form, neither will likely change the complexion of a group that didn't have a single player average more than 43 yards per game last season. New coach Mike Vrabel didn't sound the alarm on the lack of movement at either spot, saying, "There's a lot of time." Patriots fans, however, might be feeling a much more heightened sense of urgency. Washington Commanders. Edge rusher. With 25 players added or re-signed through Friday, the Commanders were arguably busier than any other team this week. Yet their mark wasn't made merely in volume of moves. In trading for left tackle Laramie Tunsil and wide receiver Deebo Samuel Sr., Washington took bold action to import marquee veterans at some of the roster's least stable positions. Still unresolved, a pass rush that could threaten to drag down the defense. Dan Quinn managed to piece together a group that ranked 7th in ESPN's pass rush win rate group last season despite having not made a serious investment on the edge. Now, however, Dante Fowler Jr. has gone back to the Dallas Cowboys after leading the team with 10.5 sacks last season. Could another trade be the answer? Washington would be a natural fit for the Bengals' Trey Hendrickson given the team's abundant cap space and willingness to spend big on veterans throughout its roster thanks to Jaden Daniels' rookie deal. But the previous deals have sapped the team's draft assets considerably. The team has just 3 choices through the first 5 rounds, and general manager Adam Peters might be reticent to part with his top selection and undermine any draft and develop method to establish homegrown talent. If Washington won't budge in any talks for Hendrickson, the fallback plan could be eyeing an edge threat with the number 29 pick. Marshall's Mike Green and Boston College's Donovan Ezeuruku would make ample sense if either is available. Los Angeles Chargers, defensive tackle. In the franchise's second offseason under Jim Harbaugh, the Chargers continue to lean into their distinct identity. Between the arrival of hard-charging running back Najee Harris and massive offensive guard Mekhi Becton, Los Angeles should continue to grind defenses down with its ground game. But the outlook on the other side of the ball is a different story. With Poona Ford defecting to the Los Angeles Rams, the Chargers are now relying on a patchwork group to command the line of scrimmage. Deshaun Hand and Naquan Jones were brought on to provide depth after the team also returned Teair Tart, but a defense that ranked 27th last season with 4.7 yards allowed per carry looks even more vulnerable now. If Los Angeles is intent on adding an immediate difference maker up front, it might need to do so through the draft. Michigan's Kenneth Grant and Oregon's Derek Harmon could add plenty of heft as first-round targets, while Ohio State's Tyleik Williams and Texas's Alfred Collins could be in play on day 2. San Francisco 49ers, defensive line. Welcome back, Robert Saleh. The 49ers defensive coordinator landed back with the same team that helped him launch into the head coaching world 4 years ago, only now the team's once fearsome front is a shell of its previous form, with San Francisco cutting defensive end Leonard Floyd and defensive tackles Javon Hargrave and Maliek Collins. Nick Bosa is the lone fixture remaining on the unit. Worse yet, there aren't many in-house options whom Saleh should feel comfortable with taking on starting roles. The free agent possibilities have rapidly dried up, particularly at defensive tackle. And in an offseason defined by a salary cap reset necessitated by quarterback Brock Purdy's expected extension, it seems unlikely that anything more than a stopgap solution will be forthcoming. Even as holes rapidly pop up throughout the roster, the outgoing veterans have combined to sign for more than $320 million. Defensive line almost demands to be addressed at some point on the first 2 days. Michigan defensive tackle Mason Graham and Texas A&M edge rusher Shamar Stewart could be candidates for the number 11 overall selection, though San Francisco could take advantage of deep groups at both positions. Green Bay Packers, wide receiver. Last August, Packers coach Matt LaFleur pushed back against criticisms of the composition of his receiving corps, saying, "I want to vomit every time I hear, number 1 receiver, to be honest with you." If Green Bay doesn't add a top-flight pass catcher, however, LaFleur might be queasy for a different reason. While the quartet of Jayden Reed, Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs and Dontavian Wicks has shown plenty of collective promise, none emerged as a go-to target for Jordan Love when things got difficult. Beating man coverage was a persistent problem, with only Wicks, who struggled mightily with drops, posting an open score of more than 70 in ESPN's metric. But Green Bay's issue is not one that can be easily solved, especially in an exorbitant free agent and trade market at the position. With the Packers prioritizing their heaviest spending elsewhere, offensive guard Aaron Banks landed a 4-year, $77 million contract, while cornerback Nate Hobbs secured a 4-year, $48 million deal. General manager Brian Gutekunst might be left to ponder whether a fix is available in either the second wave of free agency or, more likely, the draft. Texas's Matthew Golden would fit the bill of a first-round receiver who can regularly create separation, while Iowa State's Jalen Noel and Mississippi's Trey Harris could be help round out the group.